and acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. How many of you have heard of Wonder Woman? Yes. Did you see that movie of her? She is amazing. She has so many superpowers. She has more than one. She has a whole bunch. And she has that power of being able to fly through the air, and she can zap people, and she can lift things with superhuman strength, and that's just a few, but she has the most amazing set of superpowers. What is your superpower? He's got a superpower that he's trying to get to make work. I've discovered that Kevin has a whole bunch of superpowers. Among them, changing light colors behind this cross, which I gather is a new thing here. Yeah. So we'll have to find out from him what's behind that later on. You can turn it back now. Just making sure his superpower really works. There we go. Yeah. But what is your superpower? In Christian language, superpowers are known as charisms. It's an old Greek word that actually wasn't used too much until the latter part of the 19th century in English. And the word, as it is given to us by Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and I looked it up because I wanted to be sure, I'll try to get it right, says that a charism is an extraordinary power given to a Christian by the Holy Spirit for the benefit of the church. That surprised me, because I had never thought of charism and superpower in the same way, but they actually go together quite beautifully. When you look scripturally back, and you especially look at the letters of Paul in the New Testament, the epistles, there are 4 epistles that talk about these charisms: Ephesians, 1 Corinthians, Romans, and 1 Peter. Now, 1 Peter's list of charisms is actually quite short. They only name 2 in there. But in others, especially 1 Corinthians, the list of charisms is quite long. And these charisms, these gifts that people are endowed with by the Holy Spirit, are more varied than one would expect. Fairly often when we hear of gifts or charisms or spiritual gifts, the mind may leap to some place like speaking in tongues. That's just one. And we're not going to do that here today, but there are others, things like knowledge and wisdom and administration and healing and pastoring and being a prophet and teaching and preaching and serving, and the list is just quite long about that. So what is your charism? What are your charisms? What are your superpowers? When I think about what happens with Wonder Woman and her superpowers, you have to go back to the beginning of the story, and I hope I don't ruin this for anybody, but when you go back to the beginning of the story, Wonder Woman is a young girl who does not know yet that she's Wonder Woman. And she doesn't really know that she possesses superpowers. She knows that she does things, but she doesn't think that they're necessarily different from what anybody else does. She just sort of does them. But there is a community around her. And that community helps her to figure out that what she has, the gifts that she has, are special. And they help her to understand the gifts, to discover them, and then to use them in ways that are wise and for the benefit of, in this case, the whole earth. So Wonder Woman has these amazing superpowers. And then I discovered that there's Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel also has her whole set of superpowers. But some of them overlap. So Captain Marvel has a unique set, Wonder Woman has a unique set, and some of them are intertwined and they overlap. It's just like us. Gathered here today, you have a whole bunch of superpowers. You have a whole bunch of charisms, of gifts that are given to you. And we spend our lives as Christian people discovering and developing our gifts. And it is the community that helps us to figure out what some of those gifts are and encourages us in the development of those gifts. But we have to be willing. We have to be willing. When I was a rector of a parish, I had this parish that was just simply amazing. We were in an urban community, and our job was essentially, we ran this food closet. And we tended to all kinds of different people, the needy who lived in that neighborhood. And a guy walked in the door one day, and his name was Stu. And Stu, we were kind of really suffering because we were lacking some leadership in the food closet. And Stu said, well, I can take charge of that. And my first question was, well, have you ever done that before? Have you ever run a food bank, a food closet, a food anything before? And he said no, but he was willing, and I was desperate. So I said, okay, let's just try it out, see what happens. So what Stu did was he put together a team that was made up of homeless people and people who were refugees and people from the alternative sentencing, which is community service, and the pillars of the church. And he put all these people together to form a team that could run this food closet. And as the need of the community increased, you can imagine by 2008, we were able to serve 10,000 meals per month with a very small crew of people. It was a small church. The point is that Stu had particular gifts, and he was willing to use them. I found out, I would have never guessed this, that Stu was a fine leader. He could pull people together. He could persuade different people to work together. He was a good administrator, kept everything lined up, and he knew how to manage people. I would have never guessed that initially, but that's what I learned. And the community gave him a place to expand those gifts. He didn't know how to run a food closet, but he had the gifts to do it. That was really important. The other thing that I've learned over time, and I think you have too, is about trying things. How many of you have tried something? How many of you have had it work? Sometimes it does, right? How many have had it fail? Yeah, more have had it fail than have it work, right? It's so essential to be willing to, as my mother says, try again, right? You just keep going. So let's say that you put together, let's say that Kevin would have tried to get the lights working behind the cross. Did they work right away? No. Right. To my point. I actually knew that because he told me. And did the 49ers win the Super Bowl? No. No. But they can try again, right? But it's about trying again and continuing to try and not giving up just because it doesn't work right one time, right? We have more to us than that, more to us. And when we continue in this, and we continue in this vein of working with our superpowers and with our gifts, when we continue to do this, we are in the process of bringing God's kingdom right here on earth to this place in this time. And we are, in our own ways, influencing how the world is lived in, how it is changed, and what its potential can be. And it has a great potential to be a place of love and hope and joy and justice and peace. So I want to offer today a segment of a poem that I wish I had written. It's by Maya Angelou. And the poem is called Continue. Today, as we confirm and reaffirm and receive people into this congregation, this will be our blessing for them. Maya says, "My wish for you is that you continue to be who you are and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness, to put the mantle of your protection around the bodies of the young and defenseless. Continue to take the hand of the despised and diseased and walk proudly with them in the high street. Some might see you and be encouraged to do likewise. Continue to plant a public kiss of concern on the cheek of the sick and the aged and infirm, and count that as a natural action to be expected. Continue to dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing. Continue to float happily in the sea of infinite substance, which set aside riches for you before you had a name. Continue, and by doing so, you and your work will be able to continue eternally. Amen.